Hi, my name is Maliha. I'm a first year medical student and I got 10 grade 9s in my GCSEs, and in today's video I want to talk to you a little bit about how I would revise if I had 4 months left until my exams, as a lot of you do now. So I'm going to split this video up. The first part is going to be about generally how to revise, like the actual study routine that I'd recommend. Second part is subject specific advice. Okay, so let's just get straight into it. So how you would revise, there's like a multi-step process. The first part is doing some element of active recall, because active recall ensures your revision is good quality. Now here are a few different examples of what I mean by active recall. Active recall, first of all, is actively trying to get the information to the forefront of your mind, trying to remember stuff without looking at resources. Passive recall, on the other hand, would be doing things like reading a textbook. You're not actually forcing yourself to remember anything, therefore the connections between the memories in your head are not going to be as strong. Active recall ensures that the memories stay in your head, so that when you actually sit down for your exam, you'll remember them. So here are a few different examples of active recall. First one is probably the most well-known version. It's flashcards. I highly recommend Anki, because Anki has this thing called spaced repetition that spaces out your flashcards based on how well you know them, so it gets your flashcards into your long-term memory bit by bit. Secondly, we have blurting or brain dumping. Now what that is essentially you set a timer on your phone and then you just sit down and you write out everything you can remember from a given topic or a given whatever. And the key part is not to look at any resources while you're doing this. You're doing it purely from memory. Once the time is up, you stop writing, you look at a resource, and then you fill in anything that you missed out in a different color, or you correct anything that you got wrong in a different color. The third one is teaching, like, you know, pretending to teach someone. So it doesn't actually have to be teaching anyone physical. You can, if you want to, you can go and annoy your parents or your siblings and try and teach them, or you can just I don't know, set up a mirror in front of you or a camera and just talk to yourself. Or if you don't want to do that, you can just talk to like an imaginary person, so basically talk to yourself. And trust me, it works. You'll probably look really weird doing it, but at least you'll get good grades. Fourth one is mind mapping, and this is basically blurting but visual, because you're making connections and stuff. Okay, so that's the first part of your revision. The first part is active recall, doing some form of active recall. The second part is doing past papers. You need to make sure you're doing past papers, because your exam technique is just as important as remembering the content, because it's like learning to drive. Like, imagine you just learn, like, you memorize the highway code from A to Z and you learn like all the rules of the road off by heart, all the theory. Does that mean you'll be able to drive? No, because you actually need to get in the car and physically drive in order to learn how to drive. It's the same thing here. Like, if you can learn all the content you want, but then at the end of the day, if you don't know how to actually apply it to exam questions, you're not going to get any marks. So you need to make sure you're doing exam technique as well. Okay, so each of your revision sessions should be composed of primarily active recall and also some element of past paper practice. If you have those two essential components down, each revision session will be effective, I guarantee you. Okay, now on to subject-specific revision. Now, English first. English is very, very much practice-based revision. You would obviously need to learn things like quotes and all of that, but that's just like, you know, shove a few quotes onto flashcards and then go through them every day. That's it. That's what I would do. But in terms of the actual bulk of revision, it's just practice, practice, practice. Now, eventually, if you're practicing an English question every day, as I was doing when I was doing my GCSEs, then you will probably run out of text to analyze and past paper questions to analyze and stuff. So what you can do is you can literally just get any book off the shelf, or go to a library and find a book and then just analyze random bits of text. Now trust me, this will help you to build that muscle of being able to waffle. English is very much waffle based. I'm telling you, if you're able to waffle and you're able to find all these abstract analyses and abstract ideas from a piece of text, then you will get good marks. Okay, and the only way to do that is to practice relentlessly. Nobody is good at waffling when they're born. I mean, you probably have like a natural disposition for it, some people may do, but it's mostly a trained skill. You need to practice as much as you possibly can in order to be able to hone that skill. Similarly with creative writing also requires relentless practice. So make sure you're practicing in terms of like structures of like doing the analysis questions, and also like specific methods at using like petal, peel. You can watch Mr. Bruff or Mr. Salis or Mr. Everything English. Those are the 3 YouTube channels I recommend. They're really, really good in helping me refine my skills and refine the way I wrote things in my exam. Secondly, we have maths. Now maths again is very, very much practice based. You can only ever practice in order to be able to get good at maths, because it's all about skills. I'm telling you, at the beginning of year 11 I was on a 6, by the end of year 11 I got to a 9, and that was purely through practice. Now what I will say is that I did find maths quite boring. and I did find sitting down and doing past papers for maths very tedious. So what I would do instead is I would switch on a TV show or a cartoon or whatever, and I have that on in the background, and I would be doing my maths paper at the same time. Now this works because they require two different parts of your brain. If, for example, you were doing English and watching TV, that wouldn't work because it requires the same part. However, maths and TV are different, so you can do them at the same time. It actually works, as in my experience it worked. So you can give it a go and see if it works for you as well, and that will hopefully make your revision a little bit more enjoyable. Third up, we have science. Now with science, what I would do is I would make flashcards on as much of the specification as I could. Anything that I did not understand, anything that I kept forgetting, all the required practicals and key bits of information, I would put them onto flashcards on Quizlet at the time, and I would go through them every single day. Now, if I was doing my GCSEs now, I wouldn't just be doing it on like stuff that I found hard. I'd be doing it on pretty much everything, and I'd be doing it on Anki. Now, if you're the type of person that struggles to make flashcards quickly, then maybe don't do that. Maybe just do it like I said before, like on all the stuff that you find harder, because that was what worked for me, and I still got a 9 in science. But I'm just saying now, in order for me to make my revision easier, I would have done it on everything, like all the bits of content, and I would be going through it on Anki. So I wouldn't be going through it every single day because Anki spaces them out via the spaced repetition algorithm. I mentioned Anki a lot. If you don't know how to use Anki, Anki's quite a difficult app to use. It has like a really 2006 style interface. So what I'd recommend you do is watch a YouTube video that goes through Anki, like Ali Abdel's masterclass. It is quite long. You don't have to watch all of it. There's only key parts that I watched, and I still managed to get the general gist of it. I might end up uploading a video on how to use Anki in the future, who knows. But yeah, Anki is very, very good. So that was for the content. Now, in terms of science, science is also very, very practice-based. Reason being, the examiners are super picky. If you miss out one keyword, then that's it, you lose a mark, okay? The only way to learn actually how to please the examiners and write what they actually want is through relentless practice. Again, I know I keep saying practice, but I genuinely mean it. This is what I did when I was doing my GCSEs, just practicing as much as I can. Science, you need to practice because exam technique is essential for science because they're super picky in the mark schemes. Also, in terms of general content revision, I was watching this YouTube channel called Science and Maths by Primrose Kitten, and she has really good videos, basically called binge revision videos, where she would condense entire massive topics into 1 hour long videos, and I would just watch those on 2 times speed, like the night before the exam, just to refresh my head and just keep all the content in my head fresh in my mind. That's not to say you rely on those, by the way, 100% no. You would be relying on your active recall, your flashcards, and your past papers. The binge revision videos is just to supplement that. It's just to add to it, it's like the cherry on top. Okay, so that's the core subjects, English, Maths and Science. Now, in terms of the other subjects, if you're doing modern foreign languages, like French, German, Spanish, whatever, this is how I revised for that. So what I would do is I would do a Duolingo lesson every day. I would do flashcards on key vocabulary every day. And I would watch TV shows in French. And the TV shows in French really, really helped, okay? You can try it with the subtitles on at first and then switch to French subtitles or whatever language you're doing, and then off the subtitles completely. It helps with your pronunciation, it helps with your vocabulary, it really, really helps with your listening. Oh my gosh, I was on a 5 at the beginning, or a 4 even at the beginning, like a 4 or a 5 at the beginning of year 11, and I got to a 9 by the end of it, because of me improving my listening. I would also write random paragraphs in French every now and then, and as well as that, I would search up high-level sentence starters on Quizlet, and I would do random sentence starter sets. Those are really, really helpful because if you can learn those high-level sentence starters, then you can just drop them into your writing exam and really wow the examiner. That's what I did. If you're doing history, this is what I did for history. Again, past paper practice. Now, history was one of the worst subjects for me. Like, it was the one that I struggled with the most, probably. It was the second worst, actually. Statistics was the worst. Reason being, I would always run out of time in the history exam. Like, I just could never finish the paper. So what I would do is I emailed my teacher and I sat down with him and I explained to him my issue that I just couldn't finish the paper, and he explained to me where I'm going wrong, how to fix it, and basically what I did was I took his advice on board. I sat down and I did a history exam past paper every week, once a week, and I would time myself. The really key point is to time yourself. Set the timer on your device, phone, laptop, whatever, and just do the paper under those time conditions and train yourself to write faster. And that doesn't just apply to history, that applies to any exam that you're struggling with in terms of timing. Now, in terms of actual content, again, I would get these things called knowledge organizers from my school, which is where they basically like got all the key information onto a sheet of paper, and I would just make flashcards of that. If you don't have a knowledge organizer, then you can use a textbook or the specification. Those also work, and I would just do those flashcards again every day. Now, the key part with these flashcards is you don't want to put too much information on one flashcard. You want them to be quick fire facts. History is very much quick fire facts, like, you know, the names of people, events, dates, things like that. So you just want to make them nice, short and snappy so you can go through them quickly and you're not like overburdening yourself and backlogging like 1,000 flashcards. I feel like those are the two high yield subjects that I did as optional subjects. I'm not going to go into the other ones that I did because they're quite niche. If you have any requests for any subjects that you want me to go over, you can feel free to leave them in the comments, or you can email me and then I'll just make a separate video, and I'm happy to do that. Just a few extra bits of advice as well. If you haven't filled in any content gaps, like if you haven't learnt all the content, that is what you need to prioritize, okay? It's like building a road. You wouldn't just paint the road if there's massive potholes. You would obviously fill the potholes first, because that's what makes sense. So fill the gaps in your knowledge first before you go ahead and start doing loads and loads of revision, because knowledge gaps, obviously those are gaps. Like with stuff that you haven't revised, at least it is somewhere in your memory, even if you've half forgotten it. Knowledge gaps are gaps, okay? They're just lost marks. So make sure you fill the gaps in first. If you don't know where to start, then just look for your specification online and then just make a list of stuff that you haven't learned yet, and then just go ahead and do that first. Then you go ahead and prioritize the stuff that you need to revise. For example, the stuff that you really struggle with, you would obviously do that first. You wouldn't ego revise and do the stuff you find easier. And yeah, that's all I have left to say. If you have any questions, again, you can leave them in the comments, or you can email me. My email is in my channel bio. Good luck with your exams, you got this, and yeah, bye guys.